Hey y'all, I'm Dana Kerr. I'm a mom, a wife, and a Southern cook. I'm from Monroe, North Carolina. First, I'd like to say thank you to Paula Dean and to Philadelphia Cream Cheese for even making this a possibility. Today, I'm going to make seafood lasagna. Hey, so what you'll need today for seafood lasagna is 2 cans of cream of shrimp soup. Looks like this, and it's kind of hard to find, so when I find it in the grocery store, I usually buy more than 2 cans. If you can't find it, that's alright. Use cream of mushroom or cream of celery, but the cream of shrimp really does add that great flavor for the seafood. Then I add a splash of sherry. I start with about a tablespoon, and then if I think it needs a little bit more, I'll add extra. But sherry is one of those great flavors that's a wonderful flavor when it's just a hint. But if it's too much, it can definitely overpower your dish. So go light on it to start with, and you can always add a little bit more. A 16-ounce container of cottage cheese, 1 package of softened Philadelphia cream cheese, 2 beaten eggs, salt and pepper, about a ½ teaspoon apiece, a dash of cayenne pepper, 1 medium minced onion, 1 box of cooked lasagna noodles, and 2 pounds of cooked seafood. Today I'm using cooked shrimp that I chop into bite-sized pieces, but it's particularly wonderful when you have scallops or crab or lobster. It's just today my seafood department did not have that in store, so I'm using just shrimp today that I've steamed, and added a little bit of seafood seasoning to my steaming, and then I'm going to add that to the seafood. Also, you're going to want sliced Roma or garden tomatoes, and I've used, today I cut up 4 tomatoes. The garden tomato that I had was pretty small, so I think I'll probably use 4, but I may end up sticking to about 3½. I'll put a little bit more salt and pepper as we're layering it, as well as chopped basil. And I do use fresh basil for that, and I prefer to chop it with my scissors as we're going. I use sliced Havarti cheese. You'll need about 1/3 to a ½ pound of that, depending on how cheesy you want it. And today I'm using just 1/3 of a pound for that. If you want to get a dill flavored Havarti, that's also a nice touch. And then 1½ cups of grated Parmesan cheese. And that's your ingredients. So first we're going to start with 2 of the cans of cream of shrimp soup. And like I said, sometimes it's kind of difficult to get, but we were lucky today that I was able to find it. That cream of mushroom soup will work fine, but the flavoring in this really is nice. And then I'm going to add a 16-ounce container cottage cheese, a splash of sherry. I'm going to start with a tablespoon. Now I may end up adding a little bit more, but for right now I'm going to start with that tablespoon because you can't take it out of there once you put it in. Then our personal favorite, the softened Philadelphia cream cheese. I soften my cream cheese a little bit in the microwave just to make it a little bit more flexible for the mixture. It's easier to stir that way. So I put it in for about 30 seconds. You're going to add 2 beaten eggs. Then you're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Now for this, I use about probably ½ a teaspoon each. Just like the sherry, I start small, and then if I feel like I need a little bit extra, add it. I'm going to add more as I go along for the tomatoes, on top of the tomatoes to really enhance that flavor. But for right now, like I said, about a half a teaspoon. You're going to mix this thoroughly. Also add a dash of cayenne pepper to this mixture. And 1 medium minced onion. I already chopped that so you wouldn't see me cry. And I don't use a food processor for that. I do use it, chop it by hand, but you could definitely use a food processor for chopping the onion if you needed to. Now it's time for the easy part. We're going to start the layering. So the first thing is you're going to take your cooking spray and just spray your 9 by 12 casserole dish. You want that lasagna to come up easily out of your pan. And then we're going to layer with cooked noodles. So I've layered my noodles first. Then you're going to spread the egg mixture out on top. Do a nice layer of that so that your noodles are completely covered. Layer the seafood. And like I said, many times I put scallops in here, or lobster, or crab. But today I'm using just the steamed shrimp. You can use a combination of all of those. Layered with tomatoes. And this is a mixture of Roma and garden tomatoes. And obviously in the summertime when you pick them off the garden, they're way better then. Use a little bit more salt and pepper just for each layer. I just barely sprinkle across my tomatoes just to bring out the flavor of that. And then I take my fresh basil, and I have already washed the leaves earlier, and I take it and I just take my scissors and I'm just going to chop a few basil leaves to further enhance our flavors. So I've already chopped up my basil. Then I'm going to spread on the Havarti. And this is just from the deli department, and I get them to slice it about like they would for sandwiches. 1/3 of a pound of Havarti to a 1/2 pound, depending on how cheesy you like it. And then we're going to layer the Parmesan, the grated Parmesan. All I'm doing is repeating the layers. And then I will end the layers by topping with the cheese. So I've layered up my lasagna. This is great at this point if you want to put it in the fridge and just pull it out for the next night and cook it then. It works beautifully for that. But now I'm going to go ahead and cook it. So we're going to cover it and put it in a preheated oven for 375 degrees for 25 minutes covered. Then, after that 25 minutes, I'm going to pull the aluminum foil off and cook it for another 20 minutes. At that point, it should see a lot of bubbling going on. It should look really beautiful. You pull it out of the oven. You're going to bring it back and let it set for 10 to 12 to 15 minutes. Y'all, this smells so good. I can't wait to cut into it, but it'll rest here for 10 to 15 minutes and then we'll be ready to cut it up. I wish you could smell it. It looks delicious. So, I'm getting this great whiff of basil, a little bit of sherry, and the great seafood smell. And now's the best part where you get to try it. This is awesome, y'all. It's a family favorite. Y'all are going to love it. Easy to make, great hit, something you can do early, leave it in the fridge, cook it the next night. You're going to love it. Seafood lasagna.